too nice to me. And I've been,
oh, you're not a millennial either. Hey, well, I always try to take a deeper look.
Yeah, I'm trying to look at the sugar tea and I can't read it. I can't. Oh, thank you. Thank
Hey,
you.
watch out for those hidden things like sucralose. Those will kill you.
Sucralose. I can't even say that. I can't understand. I can't understand.
It's not even with the hidden thing.
No, I don't think it's all you.
Okay, well, let's get up on that one.
I need more work on that. But thanks for the magnifying glass. This is going to come in. Well, hello, everybody. Hope you can hear me all right. My name is Zach Rashow. I'm with Quest Mindshare. Quest is a global supplier of online audiences focusing on B2B and consumer work, quantitative company. And we have the privilege to be a partner with MarTech and Josh from Emmington. Josh from Emmington.
Thanks, Zach. I'm Josh Emmington. I'm the director with the MarTech Group. We're a global research consultancy. We also have an emotion platform that's patented, and we're leaders in competitive intelligence. Actionability is our guarantee.
Awesome, awesome. Well, obviously today we're going to talk about labels and the confusion around labels. A joint study was conducted. There's a huge place in the space to improve labels and consumers' understanding of the ingredients and what's happening within the label space. We're also going to lead with a little bit about partnerships. For me being the head of sales at Quest Mindshare, I'm all about partnerships and communication, and it's a great story that we have with MarTech. We want to quickly actually show you a short video that was conducted by our managing partner, Greg Matheson, and one of the partners at MarTech, Bill Luckin. We get together on a quarterly basis just to talk about work we do together and what we're going to do moving forward. So here you go.
Hey, Bill, how's it going?
Oh, doing pretty well. Nice to hear from you again, Greg.
Yeah, nice to see you. It looks like we're going to be getting together pretty soon, from what I understand, right?
Yeah, it's been a long time with COVID. Yeah, we can't wait to see you guys.
Yeah, I think we'll do what we did the last time. I'll bring some beer and some snacks and all that fun stuff, if you don't mind.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. We have a few new employees though, and they have some dietary restrictions. Really looking at that label pretty closely. Can you tell me what snack you're bringing and maybe the list of ingredients that are on that label?
Okay, let me go to the pantry and see what I can find. I've got that problem. I have a daughter that's got allergies, so we're used to scrounging through stuff. Let me see what I can find. I was thinking of bringing some cookies or something, but what type of things are people
we've got a list of about 50 ingredients that are off limits here at the office. So if you could maybe read through those, and then
seeing monocalcium lecithin phosphate, ammonium bicarbonate. Is any of that? Does any of that work?
Those don't sound good. We like kind of simple and clean. Yeah.
Okay, let's try the crackers. I've got, man, the writing is so small. High oleic oil may contain modified milk ingredients. I don't really know what modified milk. Let me try something else.
I don't want to modify anything. That doesn't sound good.
All right, let's see. Ammonium bicarbonate. Do you want ammonium? Do you want to eat ammonium? I don't really know what that is. Yeah, look, Bill, I love you. Can't wait to see you, but I'm just going to bring the beer because I can't make it.
Let's just have beer. That's a lot safer. Yeah.
All right, thank you. That type of conversation happens quite often where there's confusion around labels. So we're going to dive into that. Before we get into that, just want to hit a little bit, some points about partnership. And basically, when talking to MarTech, somebody who I've had a relationship now for over 10 years, that relationship was really established through a few points that they made, and that's really truth and trust. So there is a time frame when you have to build that. Obviously, there's a bidding phase. There's many phases to developing a relationship with a supplier like us or in any industry. But then, really, the proof is what dictates how that relationship is constructed. So we've done many projects with MarTech, and they have trust, basically, on what they've seen from the proof of the studies that we've done together. And that comes in many forms, if you don't want to go back one. So quality, they need to really trust and understand all measures of quality that take place. Obviously, online data collection is not a perfect science, but they need to understand the components that go into it and trust that we're doing everything we can to keep quality at its highest level. Accuracy. Accuracy really comes down to, there's a term you hear sometimes, it's called say do. Do what you say. So when it comes to feasibility, indications of what that feasibility is, and being accurate. Things change, but you have to be accurate. If you're going to get your client in a lot of trouble, you're going to get in trouble if you're consistently off. So accuracy on bidding is incredibly vital to the success for both sides. Communication, that's probably my most favorite word in this industry, and that's at the heart of every relationship, is good communication. We have a Slack channel set up between our companies. We've grown together. There's a collaborative effort. We consult them on different jobs that they send to us, and whether it's feasible, whether it should be done on a caddy level, whether it's doable within the online space. It's very important to have that type of cross communication and trust with each other. And flexibility. So often a bid looks like X, and then the actual study when in field is completely different. So instead of freaking out, you need to actually communicate and find a solution together. Get the job done. If it comes at a little bit of a higher cost, in the end, you can talk about that later, but you're always keeping the big picture in mind. So we as a supplier like to absorb that cost typically, and then at the end, say, can we make it up on a different job? Typically that works out really well. The last piece of that last side really is just, which isn't there, is phone. Big component of picking up the phone and talking to people. As we all know, so much is lost in translation. So communication is just the key to success in a partnership, and we have that. These next two slides are really just about, when conducting this study, it's about sample composition. Obviously within the online data collection world, this is really a basic consumer study where we wanted to get basic demographics from age, gender, marital status, and many other. We agreed with MarTech on minimum quotas within each of these different demographics. The funny thing is, it's really the exact opposite of a standard study from MarTech. These guys are typically looking for, forklift operators in Alabama or farmers, and I think you have that study field right now.
Southwest Ontario.
Farmers in Ontario, really tough stuff where you got to be outside the box thinkers in how to find those respondents. Again, we're going to help them where we can, but in many cases we're going to recommend another provider rather than be the middle guy. Recommend somebody who has a specialty offer, recommend a relationship we have with the phone room, doing whatever we can to support them. And I think that's the key to partnership in many ways, is just showing that you care about the project. Also, it's important to note that respondents don't follow the path of census data. So a lot of times companies come to us and say, hey, can you mirror census balancing? Well, our recruitment efforts don't mirror census balancing. We have many different proprietary panels, and they're recruited as aggressively as possible, but they don't necessarily match what census data looks like. And census data has different quotas and different aspects that just don't match panel. High income and certain ethnicities, much harder to find and get on online panels. So it's just important to set proper minimums, communicate that information with your partner. So one more slide about partnership. Really, to seal a partnership, it's a two-way street, right? It's A to Z. A being that consultative approach, and being responsive, being quick to respond on a bid, and giving all that information, a breakdown of what's doable and not. But really and getting to know your client is vital. So in this case, we would some clients who come to us and say they don't give an IR, right? When they're looking at the job, they just give you basic information. So when you're doing that, you sometimes ask the client, do you know an IR? And then we have some clients who come back to us and say, you guys are the experts, don't ask me the IR, this is all the information I have. Okay, well I just learned something about that particular client. Don't ask them too many questions. We have to make some assumptions. We have to look at past jobs we've done on the topic and really build out the plan to ensure that it covers all aspects of it. So really in this role, it's about getting to know your client. I can't tell you how many times in sales we ask different reps, what's your client's annual spend? What type of studies do they focus on? What areas are they involved with? And they don't have all the answers. And then vice versa, when we call the client to ask them about their knowledge about what we do. they might think that we're a B2B online supplier only and don't know kind of the full reach that we have. So really spend some time, get to know that opportunity that can deliver so much more than you really think. And the last piece is really the Z piece, the A to Z is, it's a two-way street. So from the supplier, from the client side, when we're trying to collect at the very end, there's nothing worse than doing a job flawlessly and then 3 months later, you're not getting any reply when you're trying to collect. And then in the end, that's frustrating because this isn't necessarily a client that you can build a relationship with because they're not replying, they're not paying on time, and that's a huge pain. I can't tell you how many times that happens. It's one thing to be late on payment, but it's a whole other thing if you're late and you're not communicating. So it's all about communication. And now Josh is going to dig in.
Absolutely. Well, thanks, Zach. We've really appreciated this partnership. Often when we're actually going out and saying, hey, we're going to find that clean room operator, or we're going to find someone that operates a telehandler within these zip codes, our integrity is on the line. Our brand promise is on the line. So it's very important that we can go to Zach and say, how many of these people, brass tacks, can you give for us? We're going to have to go out mixed method and go and find these individual additional participants. So that's been a pleasure working with Zach. We really appreciate that. And we're not always hammering them on price because we know that they're going to tell us the truth and that they're going to deliver every single time. So
and now since he knows that, I can basically price whatever I want.
So how many here have actually heard of Clean Label or even purchased something because it was Clean Label? Excellent, and that's about what we found. About a third of people have actually heard of Clean Label, but we need to do a study because it's not actually a certification that you can put right on the label and say, okay, this is recognized as a Clean Label right now. So we need to know, what is it and how is that impacting consumers' behavior? So one of the reasons that we need to do a study like this, and this is very atypical. We partnered with Quest to be able to do this because we just thought this is important supplementary information to add to our deep studies that we're doing for our B2B to see clients in the Fortune 1000. And they were feeling the heat. Over the last 5 years, they've really been pressured to understand this topic because all human nutrition trends are going in a direction of decreasing these comorbidities, getting rid of the obesity issues that are out there, and helping people take control of their own nutrition. And so they wanted to understand, before I spend all this money to change my equipment and to offer these inclusions and so on, I got to get the picture of how the American people think about this. So we went out and we did this study to understand that, and the results were highly varied in terms of interpretation. But the most important thing remains taste. Taste over brand, taste over convenience, taste over nutrition, over all of these other elements that you might consider, even danger to your health. So that was pretty interesting, and we also found that it varies heavily by age, which is something that has been consistent along a lot of different nutrition education trends. So people in the 55 to 73 range are less likely to be vegan or vegetarian. They're less likely to shop online. They are less likely to give health advice to friends and family, and that's been consistent across the board. So what is Clean Label? When we look at that high level understanding, it comes down to fewer ingredients and understandable ingredients. I'm sure a lot of you remember that marketing by RX Bar. No BS, right? It's just almonds and egg whites, right? And dates. So that's the prototypical idea of Clean Label, and we went out to understand how do people actually think about it. And so one of the leading things that's often conflated and confused with Clean Label is third-party verification. This could be vegan or kosher or non-GMO. And we find, obviously, in this top 2 box that familiarity decreases sharply with age, which is consistent with what we found before. And we also found that the top 2 third-party certifications are non-GMO and certified organic labels. So about a third of consumers have heard of this, and that increases sharply with household income. This has been consistent for a long time that the higher your household income is, the more you have time and resources to be able to think about your health and increase it. Well, that's been consistent for Clean Label. It's also been a trend for health concerns like gluten sensitivity over the past few years. And when you ask consumers what do they think clean label is, they say, well, it's nothing artificial, and some people even confuse and say, oh, it's also that it's non-GMO and that it's certified organic. So there is definitely an opportunity to educate, to bring awareness, and to push this into something that could be listed right next to gluten-free on labels. Now, the most important thing here is, are they willing to pay for it, right? So roughly half of consumers are willing to pay more. They're willing to pay a 5 to 10% premium for clean label products. And in the younger demographic, they're able to pay and willing to pay 20% more, 20% premium, the highest premium for clean label food and beverage products. So obviously this is emotional. We watched the video, we had us coming up over here, and I'm sure every one of you has been in a grocery store at some point looking at something and you're like, crap. You know, I'm not going to look at all these things, and so it's highly emotive. And so we leverage a tool that we have, it's called Emotion Intelligence, and it's a multidimensional sentiment analysis tool to understand this. So it pulls customer or consumer language, and we're able to get non-conscious and conscious, positive and negative, emotive results from that. And to do so, you know, pretty effectively. So what we found is that people say, you know, explicitly that they're feeling worth. And we were able to find that their emotions reflected this. They're feeling worth. And they're taking control of their health. They're taking stewardship of their health, and they're looking at the label. But what we couldn't have uncovered from just looking at the information is that they were also feeling deep insecurity. In fact, about twice as much on a valence level of that negative emotion of insecurity behind the scenes. That's what they're really experiencing when they're looking at that label is, man, I'm uncertain. I'm out of, you know, this is out of my control. I don't really understand everything that's going on here. And worth is actually a pleasant, passive and inward medium passion level type of emotion. So you can see here that 25% of consumers are feeling that worth while they're reading food labels. And that's versus the insecurity, which is unpleasant, it's active, inward, and a low passion level emotion. So anytime that we do this analysis, we can drive it right back to content development. So we can look at the exact verbatims. What is the language that the consumer is using to describe their specific emotion? And some of the leading words that came out with this word sentiment are smart, care, wise, safe, and healthy. They're describing that they are taking control. And so that was very positive. On the other hand, there's definitely cognitive dissonance going on here with the negative side. So that's a real pain that's happening in the consumer's mind that could be alleviated by a brand that's willing to do so. And actually 45% of consumers were feeling that insecurity when looking at food labels. So what's behind the scenes there? Well, they don't understand what most of the ingredients are. They described that they can't pronounce the words, and that was painful. They also don't understand what are these additives and why the heck are these additives in my food, and it's upsetting. So that's definitely an opportunity for brands, and it's an opportunity for all of us. All right, so we're just going to put a gloss on segmentation. Obviously, when we do a study for one of our direct clients, we're going to go a lot deeper on segmentation. We're going to align it commercially, then we're going to do a full holistic segmentation. We'll develop personas and do a lot of other qualitative work like ethnographies and online qualitative to really get in-depth information and flesh that out, track it over time, get a typing tool so that we can react directly to that individual audience. But in this case, we're just going to give you the high level of the consumer, the human, right? On the top here, we have the supporters and the go-getters. These are the most positive on the concept right now. This is where the money is right now for individuals that are providing clean level products and services in the food and bev space. And the other two audiences were still interested in learning more, at least the skeptics were. So let's dig in just a bit. The supporters, they're healthy conscious, they're primarily female, and they're more educated than the skeptics and unconcerned. And the go-getters are also more educated than the skeptics and the unconcerned. And these supporters, they're actually highly aware of what they put in their body, they're already active, and they will eat primarily for nutrition over convenience. Imagine having that discipline. That's incredible. And they also, they're not overly familiar with the concept right now, but they do want to learn a lot more about it, which is what we found in the study. They're the biggest supporters of the clean label concept, and they are willing to pay right now more for those products. So the go-getters, They're actually trendy consumers. This skews younger, male. They're buying all their groceries online right now. They're typically in the western area, and they have the highest portion of vegan and vegetarian. They always look at what's on the label, right, every time. And they're the most familiar with Clean Label already. For that reason, they're not very interested in learning more about Clean Label. They already know what they're looking for, and they went on and on about all of the different certifications that are on food labels right now and how they already look at them. Then you've got the skeptics. The skeptics are the biggest opportunity area for education. They are usually in the 23 to 54 range. They're kind of your average Joe, variety of incomes and education levels. They don't consider themselves active, but they also don't think that they are going to exercise more. So they're kind of looking at their labels, figuring out, okay, I don't regularly eat organic products right now. I don't give health advice right now, but I'm interested in making a change, right? Then you have the unconcerned. This is a bit tragic because this whole group of 17% of consumers are most impacted by their household income to the point where it's overtaking their ability to acquire nutritious food. So they aren't thinking about anything except for the price. They're Southeast, middle-aged consumers. They're the lowest income of all the segments, and only 1% of them are interested in learning more. They just know that their experience going into the grocery is they never check the ingredients and they never eat organic food products. So just to sum up, skepticism is ruling the day here. There is an opportunity among the less educated in the nutrition space to be able to educate them and capture them, with food and beverage products. There's certainly a wallet ready to go on the positive side around Clean Label. They're just waiting for someone to sharpen that up. And personally, for each of us, if there were Clean Label products available to us, I think that we could all make better and sharper decisions about our nutrition. So while it's expensive and difficult to create these types of products, they meet the majority of the consumer's needs, and they already have their financial support. So here we actually have a summary of the report. Just taking a picture of this will allow you to download it. We have a much more rigorously conducted report that we could either pull pieces of, sell, or offer alongside some of our custom research. But please take a look, ask us questions. We're very happy to answer some of the additional questions that you might have. And you can, of course, dig into the histogram and some of the other reporting that comes from the emotion piece.
That's great, Josh. When I look at the different segments, myself, I think of myself as probably in a skeptic category right now, but I definitely want to move into that supporter group and learning a lot more about labels. But it certainly is confusing, especially when I think about like my wife telling me to go to the store and picking out these products and looking out for this type of ingredient, and my God, that's a pain. But just curious about the next level of research that you're doing on this topic.
Yeah, so we actually support a lot of associations that are outside but looking into this area, and also a lot of Fortune 1000 firms and big CPG firms. And what they are trying to understand is throughout the entire value chain, how is this going to impact food and beverage products? So they're looking into things like what are the next third-party certifications that are going to be necessary? Where's the groundswell of human nutrition, and how can we be ready for that? And how is that going to impact some other areas of food, such as food service? What are going to be the inclusions there? So we do a lot of product work, pricing work, competitive work in that space. And I think really the next step for moving beyond Clean Label is defining all of the different no lists that are at the bleeding edge. Whole Foods has a list, specific list that says here's what's going in, here's what's not going in, and if you know that and how it's evolving on a consistent basis, then that will reduce your risk as a brand.
Great. Yeah, I think it'd be a massive expense for these manufacturers to create new labels, but the research is great. And that summarizes it. If anybody has any questions about Clean Label.
Thank you.
I have more questions about how you were measuring the emotion. How do you specifically measure?
Yeah, so we have two methods, a passive and an active method. We can only get to conscious results if we use passive. That could be social listening or taking an old study and upcycling it. In this case, we were going out and putting the customer on the couch. So we asked them specific questions. How do they feel about this experience? How do they feel about these concepts around clean label? And once we do that, we get these rich open ends, and many of them, right? And then we use AI, but we also do augmented intelligence. We're a little bit scared of the Terminator, right? We're gonna go in and look at it ourselves. So once we do that, we have a dictionary that's over 10,000 different coded words, and we're able to take the emotion category using Plutchik's scale of emotion and give you also a valence to that. So we're able to say, here's how powerful the emotion was, here's whether it's conscious or non-conscious, and what it's about, and what people say directly about it. It's just a module. We do this a lot with other research firms. So if you were doing a tracker or something, we can just add it on, and we'll do the coaching up front, the analysis on the back end. You control all the rest of it. So.
Any other questions?
This sounds like a great methodology for a B2C type study where it's speaking to consumers. Have you guys had any experience with any research studies where it's more in a B2B environment where you're speaking to an expert and replicating this methodology to do it for that type of study where you're speaking to more experts in a certain field and necessarily consumer product?
Yeah, absolutely. We do a lot of work with ingredient companies, and we'll talk to food production companies. We'll talk to retail outlets that are doing kind of their own mixes. If you think about a base, then they're doing that right in the grocery, right? So we'll do those buyer interviews, in-depth ethnographies, and so on, and pull all that rich language. So it doesn't have to just be a quantitative method. You can pull, as long as you have maybe 20 or so good in-depth interviews that you have, at least 40 pages of text from that, then we can take that and go.
All right. Any other questions? Well, thank you guys very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.